Welcome to the Masters Alliance podcast Uncut, and I am Herb Perez. And today we are joined by an inspirational young man who has done great things in our sport, great things in leadership, and leads the largest organization for Olympic sport taekwondo and traditional martial arts for taekwondo in the country, the AAU. Bobby Stone, Grandmaster Stone, is a man full of passion, life. He loves his family, he loves his membership, but most importantly, he loves our sport. Today, he shares his thoughts on all of that, but more importantly, his unique leadership style, which has allowed him to create the largest organization in the country, and that also yields a tremendous amount of Olympic athletes. 3 out of the 4 team members for the U.S. Olympic team this year have gone through the AAU development programs. So sit back and relax and strap in for an amazing conversation with an amazing individual, Grandmaster Bobby Stone. Okay, welcome to the Masters Alliance podcast Uncut. And today I'm honored to be joined by Grandmaster Bobby Stone. He has been an amazing individual. He has accomplished amazing things in his life, but one of the reasons I wanted him to join us today is after meeting him and seeing the good work he's done for the United States and our young athletes, I wanted him to share those thoughts with you, and we're going to really have an amazing conversation today. But again, welcome to Grandmaster Bobby Stone.
Well, thank you for having me, and that's quite an introduction. I'm not sure I'm deserving of those kind of accolades, but I'm working hard to hopefully one day too.
Well, one of the things that I've always liked about you is your demeanor and your way that you carry yourself with humility, and I think that's amazing. But I don't want to waste time just talking about all the things that we could say nicely about each other, but I want to get involved on your taekwondo journey because it started in
Sure.
1986, and I think it's important for people to understand what sparked your initial interest in taekwondo, and what keeps your passion burning decades later.
Well, sure. So I was a kid, obviously, little kid, and there were 2 things that sparked it. Once, I was hyperactive, and I got myself into trouble a good bit. When I was little, there was a lot more out on the playground, and you got into scuffles. And I was small, and sometimes those scuffles worked out for me, and sometimes they didn't. When I was just before that, I had moved into the Atlanta area right before martial arts, and I was just not. My parents were moving up sort of in the world, so we were in a little bit nicer neighborhood, and they wanted to get me some discipline and get me some focus. And about that same time, interestingly enough, my mother, who is Cajun, was had a friend that was I think a psychic, I think is what you call them, and they told her that in a former life I had been in martial arts and I would be very good at it, and so I should go into. She should put me into that. Those 2 things kind of came together, and here I am going on close to 37, 38 years now, and still loving it, still super passionate about it, and it feeds the mind, feeds the body, feeds the soul, and that's what I'm all about.
Well, I think that's a reason a lot of people start, but can you share with us a pivotal moment in your training or a setback or a challenge that shaped who you became as a martial artist or an instructor and a leader?
Yeah, I think I was fortunate. I mean, I think like many in martial arts, uh, to have a very, very, very good instructor who was a wonderful role model, and was very involved in not only our training but our, who we would become as people. And when I turned 14, I started teaching. I think I was making about $1.85 an hour, and holding pads and doing that. I taught in the or assisted in the dojo for 2, 3 years, and when I was 17, we started to have these community programs through the Parks and Rec, and I was assigned to one of these programs, and I had a very good relationship with a lot of the students, but being young, I didn't understand what it took to really form a solid program. And I started to have favorites. This guy was, this and I was paying attention, and that became very evident. And my instructor at that time pulled me out of that program, took it away, and explained to me that, there was more than just focusing on one student or one favorite or the one that was going to show up and do the most. And it was both life altering and disturbing for me at the time. But as I look back, it was pivotal in the moment of understanding that not only from a business, but from a personal standpoint, you have to divide that attention, and the students that are going to excel will be there, and you have your moments with them, but then you cannot turn your attention away from the importance of others, and particularly ones that may struggle or challenge. They're the ones that might even get more from you than the ones that probably are excelling very quickly. And I bring that one up not because it's a something that was a good thing. It was actually something that it was a failure as I look back on it now. And I think it's true that we learn so much more from our failures or our ability when we look back and we go, well, that's the point where I recognize that I wasn't what I thought I was at that moment or wanted to be. I wanted to be my instructor who always gave back and always looked at everybody. And I thought I was, but I really wasn't being that person at that time. And so I can look back now and understand that a lot more than I could then. Like I said, I was, upset, ticked off, but got through it, started training back at the school, and eventually went on to have my own programs and, of course, my own schools and everything else.
And I think that leads me to my next question, but it's a great point that you bring up about the transformative nature of what we do and why we do it and who our role models are. In your experience, what were some of the most transformative aspects of Taekwondo training that extended beyond the physical technique and into the lives of some of those practitioners?
Yeah, I think one of the I'll take a specific action in training and teaching. Some schools do breaking, some schools don't. I came from a school that was very involved in breaking, and for me, breaking is one of those equalizers, right? It's a supreme teaching moment because um, many times for particularly kids and young people, it's an obstacle, right? If they feel they can't do it. It's the instruction, it's the technique that ultimately leads them to do things that seemingly are impossible. We always set it up, and it's the best scenario is when you see somebody fail the first time at breaking, right? They kick, they punch, they whatever how they're breaking. That failure comes in because then through instruction you can tweak it, and they eventually succeed. I at testings often, even now today, you get up and you do a break or you do a demonstration, and there's an expectation that it will go flawlessly, right? You are a grandmaster, you are a senior, you have been in this for 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. However, if I get up and I do, let's call it a power break, I'm going to break six, and I get up and I break, boom, there's not a whole lot of excitement because there's an expectation that I did it. However, when we take a brand new white belt, we put a board up in front of them and we're talking about their endurance and their strength and their focus, whatever they need to work on, and they hit it the first time and it doesn't break. That that influence comes in there. They hit it again, maybe it doesn't break. But when they hit it the third time and it breaks, there is an explosion in the room of unity and that you can't get almost anywhere else. It's that environment that you create where you've seemingly gone through the impossible, and the group that is there with you is willing you and behind you. I think it's just one of those things that for martial arts, breaking is just and you can get it in other places like sparring and tournaments and things, but it is a moment where everybody truly is with you, and I just love it. And and we always make jokes at our school about through my instructor and whatnot, why do we break? And it is not because we hate trees. It really is because it is that moment where you're taking somebody through something where they never thought they could be, and you see that and they remember that for a very long time. And we equate it back to whether, hey, if you're in school and you're looking at an algebra problem, if you can break a board, you can get through algebra, right? You can do it. And so for me, when I'm looking at pivotal moments for practitioners, that's where I'm looking. And you're talking from the student perspective. For me, it may have been a little bit different going through, but from a student perspective, I feel that's quintessential moments for them.
That's a great description and unique, and certainly the best description I've heard of its role and purpose and how it ties back to what we do as instructors. And I appreciate that insight because we do limited breaking in my school and we do it at promotion tests. But upon hearing that, I may change my own methodology. But I want to talk to you about your leadership and vision because you've decided to take on a huge responsibility and a huge position. And what made you decide to take on that leadership role within the AAU? And what do you see as the organization's greatest strengths?
Well, ultimately, as I said before, I came up through the AAU as a competitor as a kid. I started competing in the AAU when I was about 12, 13. At that time, there was no AAU Taekwondo back in there, as we don't have to go through the history of AAU and how Taekwondo, but it had gone out and it was coming back in. But when I first started originally competing, I was competing AAU Karate. And then when AAU Taekwondo came back in, I started competing as an athlete there. I went on to become a coach, a referee, then a district chair. Started getting involved in the district governance at that point. Was appointed then to the executive committee. Then my good friend, who our vice chair now, Joe Hassan, and I were tasked with taking over the Junior Olympic Games. And then ultimately, I decided to run for national chairman along with Joe Hassan as our vice chair. And the reason behind it ultimately was the people that were involved. The people that were involved inspired me to create a better environment for them, to create a better spirit moving forward. All credit to my predecessors. They set up a structure that was functional, that was working, and gave me a solid foundation. But that foundation had been starting to erode for a little while, and we knew that coming in. And then some of that's generational, some of that was, just had to do with outside forces. But there was obviously a wall that was standing there that did not want to move for change. So at that point, I decided to run, and I spent a better part of a year traveling all over the country and sitting in people's homes and going to their events and talking to them about what was working, what was not working, and reaching out to outside sources. What do you think? Where do you see the movement of Taekwondo going? And ultimately, that was the reason. It was the people that were involved that inspired me to take a step forward in my life. I had a very successful business. I had small children at the time, 7 years ago, and and a lot of things going for me that I didn't necessarily need to, but I wanted to. I felt driven. I felt inspired that I could do something and make a difference. And so the people in the program are the ones that that made me want to do that. As far as our strength, I think that's the same thing. It's our people. Um, I've whatever I've accomplished in the AAU is because I have really good people with us. They are, I say it all the time, I am literally steering the ship. The wind in the sails and the oars on the water, that's all the other people. I feel leadership in general is about taking, I want people to disagree with me. I want you to tell me your side of it. We may or may not agree. However, it is my job as the national chairman to pull you with me in the sense of I want you to be so inspired by what we're trying to do that you go, well, he may be wrong, but he believes in it. And I do believe in it. And for me, that's just important. I don't do anything I don't want to, or I don't believe in that has integrity for the program. And that's the decision making behind it. But we have phenomenal people running events everywhere, showing up, volunteering, and putting a lot of effort into, and sometimes I get the credit for that. So I'd like to, make sure that everybody understands that credit, I'm steering the ship. Hopefully I'm on the right path. But that's, it's our people that is our strength, no question.
I mean, and that's those are great words, and that's certainly the sign of a great leader. And I think that's what everybody recognizes in you, and certainly why you've been able to accomplish so much. And it's certainly something that I recognized in you when I first met you. As chairman of the AAU Taekwondo, the question I have for you though is, what do you see as your primary goals, and what changes would you like to see to help you most propel the sport forwards?
Sure. Um, my goal, number one goal, every year is to create new opportunities for our members. Opportunities. AAU Taekwondo is a little different than other organizations because my goal is not to win medals, right? My goal is to create opportunities for the kids to win medals. My goal is to create opportunities for our coaches to do something that they've never done. My goal is the opportunity for the official to get to go somewhere and experiencing something different or meet someone different to see their own opinions. My goal is for every one of these kids that come through the program to have a positive experience. One of the worst parts about competition, and the reason you saw a decline, I think, is because people would show up to events and it was a negative experience, right? It's not about winning or losing, right? It's about all the things that go into that. When you walk in the door, my goal is for you to come in, the first person that you meet, how are you? What can we do? How can we help you? They move on to the next table. They're picking up their credentials. We're so excited you're here. They move to registration. We've got you. If there's a problem, we'll fix it. There's not one we can't solve with good attitudes and and determination to make sure it goes right. I want people to have the experience from the time they walk in to the time they leave as a positive thing. Win lose, that's something different. That's something different because I said before, in my opinion, losing probably you learn a lot more than you do winning, right? But if the experience in between there is bad, if you walk in and the first person you meet, they're like, what do you need? That's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. You won't see that from me, and you won't see it from any of the staff. We all get tired. It's a long week for us. We hope to have close to 5,000 athletes this year. But that experience that they have from the top to the bottom, if they leave and they go there with endless opportunities, endless ways of improving their sportsmanship, their technique. They learn something. But I think that you come away from that knowing that you have done something right, done something positive. And more importantly, for the clubs, it is very important to me that when they bring their students, this is their livelihood. It is important for me, for an instructor, a coach, a club owner, that they don't leave there going like, I just took you had me come to here, spend all this money, and this is what you brought me to. It's just not acceptable in any way, shape, or form, and it won't ever be for me. And so I think for us, again, the opportunities that we provide, and that's why we have our national teams, we have our local events, we have many opportunities everywhere you go. There is not a single person that can't find an opportunity within both the district and the national level where they can excel and feel good about themselves as they leave our events.
Well, you've kind of gone into the next question that I was going to ask you about
I'm
because
sorry.
no, that's good, and I like that. You spearheaded the movement and the AAU Junior Olympics Games, and as such, that's primarily the pathway for youth development in sport. How do you envision creating even larger pathways for those young athletes?
Well, the Junior Olympic Games is a unique animal. And like I said, without getting into what happened in '78 and as they divided, AAU has this unique. We have the only Junior Olympic game, so the only multi-sport game that can be out there. As you know, that individual sports can create a Junior Olympic environment. When we took it over, my predecessor was trying to kind of get rid of it. Kind of this is too much of and this and that. We took it over to turn it into that positive experience, athlete development. Then, as I became national chair, we brought our team trials there. So we have the extremes, if you will. We have the Hamadan kind of grassroots, you're getting into it. We want you to feel good about yourself. This is going to be a great thing. All the way to the elite. This is where you're going to be selected. It's round robin. You got to go out there and fight your heart out and do it. So for us, it's this dichotomy of both the beginning and, I won't say the end because it's never the end. As we know in martial arts, it's the only sport we can do for the whole, we can be 95 but we can figure it out, right? But ultimately for us it's that creation of that, and there's a lot of plans to expand that as we coming forward in not only taekwondo but all sports. We're looking into that and really looking for that event to get. Right now it has about 20,000 athletes, our Junior Olympic Games, and we hope to get that to where it's closer to 100,000 over the next 8 years.
You've also created a really high level program for the development of athletes who have Olympic dreams and Olympic potential called the AAU TOPS program. What were the key motivators in that creation, and what impact do you see it having on athletic development in your organization?
Sure. So TOPS came about as the need came about, right? There was a need for, again, I'll go back to that word opportunity. There was a need for these kids to have some funding, to have some coaching, to have another path to fulfill their dreams. And because we have, in case anybody on this podcast isn't aware, we have a national team structure now for our Olympic sparring, which is what we're talking about in our TOPS program, right? Where we go mini cadet, which is our 10, 11. Then we go cadet 12, 14. We go to junior 15, 17, on to senior 18, 32. But we recognized that there was a gap, mainly because of our coaching were coming to us, our coaching staff, where these kids were getting lost, right? They may have not been, and I don't want to say not top level because that's not the thing. We all know how this works, right? Depending on where you can go, where you get, and how this works. They were there. We had a group of our athletes that were but we were only seeing them once a year at the national program. We do one fully funded, all of those levels with the exception of the mini cadets, all do one fully funded trip, which means we pay for everything from hotel to flight to entry fees, coaching, a couple the meal, and they're all over the world. Those kids go to everywhere. I think this year we've been in Mexico, we've been in Costa Rica, we've been in we were at Dracula Open, which is in Romania, and we've had all these things. We've been in Canada. We had a group in Peru. So those are all funded trips. But this group came to our attention that there was a void where there was a pocket of athletes that really could benefit from a year-long program that provided funding and high-level coaching, that next level where these coaches got, to meet with them multiple times through camps, through competitions, and then we could help them excel and make it over to that next hump where, and again, create the opportunity for them to fulfill their dream. And that's what TOPS is about. TOPS is about getting them extensive international experience with high-level coaching and development of these athletes. For not this year, it's about what they're going to do in 3 or 4 years and giving them the funding so they can do that, because it's really difficult. We lose so many of our high-level athletes because it's expensive. It is. There's no question about it, and that's true of every sport. That is not unique to taekwondo. I'm not bashing taekwondo and saying that it's expensive, but when you want to go around all over the world and all over, and you have to go all these levels, and that's what's necessary in order to get to the next level. Once you do that, it becomes a hindrance, and because taekwondo is not football or basketball or one of these sports that the collegiate level is taken care of, it becomes cost prohibitive for a lot of parents, and we lose our athletes when we shouldn't be losing them, and we're losing them for a whole host of reasons. But if we can provide even a small group, and I think we're currently at 8 kids on our TOPS team this year, with that new opportunity, then we've done something right. We've done something good. And certainly my number one goal is with the revenue that we earn is to give back to what we do. Uh, and I say it all the time. I can never give Taekwondo back what it's given me. So whatever I do to work, it's all to give back to what I've already gotten. So that's what's important.
And I think those are great words. It's about paying it forward because of the great things it's done for all of us, and I applaud you for that. I want to transition just for a second to understand, how does the AAU support grassroots development and the growth of Taekwondo, and what programs or initiatives are in place to foster the next generation of athletes and leaders and maybe innovators?
Sure. So how we uh, without I think it's okay for me to say we kill what we eat, right? So we do everything we do, every dime that we get comes through events and what we do on that level, whether it's national championship, district championships, or or camps, or anything that we can provide to our members. That money in turn, really, we try to do as much as we can to push it back. Somewhere around 70% of every dollar we make goes back into athlete development and athlete growth, or growth of taekwondo in the country, right? And we have, again, it's across the board. We're talking a lot about Olympic sparring, but we have a traditional forums team, we have a sport poomsae team, we have a point sparring team, and we have Olympic sparring teams. But every dime that those athletes bring in, we do our best to allocate our resources back to those programs and to create those opportunities. And so for us at a district level, which is different from states, AAU is a little bit different there. We operate in a district, and sometimes Texas has 4 districts, but Georgia has 1, and it's a little crazy. But on that district level, I think it's about providing opportunities close to home, right? And that creates athlete development. We're fortunate; we have over 50 qualifying events this year, over 50 around the country. It is not hard. Unless you're like in the Dakotas. We don't have anything there right now, but it's not hard to get an event. It's not hard to get to multiple events. Outside of that, we host another close to that number of non-qualifying events, i.e., they're just invitational tournaments where they can go to. Outside of that, almost every district is hosting camps and sparring seminars, and all of that goes into the base level, the foundation of athlete development. And if there's one thing we know is coming up as athletes, as competitors, it's essential to compete. It just is essential. If you have any luck of moving forward, it's not just staying at home and training. You must see people that you don't see. We all love to get in there and just bang on the people we love so much, because that's part of how we show our camaraderie in our sport. But you won't get much better if you don't get out and fight people you've never seen, or you don't get out and compete against people you've never seen, because it is essential to know that what's in the field. And then we take that to our national level. Our national level, well, at the time I took over, divisions were, nice size, but you go there. Now these divisions are 40 plus. Everywhere you go, you're getting a real mix and a real good sample of the entire country coming there and competing, and that's what needs to development. Once you go there, now you're moving on to if the team is not selected at nationals, then you're moving on to a team trial experience. Again, that's an environment that many of them have never been involved in. Now they're going in a round robin format. If they're fortunate enough to make the team, a lot of our team members, it's their first time competing internationally. And then a lot of these guys go on to do great things in the sport, and we're happy. I'm thrilled to death to know that a current group of even the guys that are have just qualified for the Olympics. I think 3 of the 4 were former AU team members. I think that if you're looking at Pan Ams that are happening right now, a lot of them AU team members or former AU team members. So I think what we're doing in the development of athletes is everything we can, and I hope to do more. I like to always say we're just getting started. If I can figure out a way to do something more, I will.
And I think that was really important to note. And I was hoping you would mention it. I think that's a great feather in the cap of the AAU and certainly your efforts, because there was a point where that was not the case. To have 3 out of the 4 people for this Olympic team come through your programs really is a testament to the success of your efforts. And it leads me to my next question, because this is a participation question. What do you see as the biggest barriers to participation in Taekwondo at the community level? And how can you address these barriers, and what can you do to make the sport more accessible?
Well, I think the barrier always is going to be, the biggest barrier is probably financial. Um, and again, what we've tried to do to break that down is provide more opportunities, right? But as you come in, particularly, and you have electronics involved, you need a $90 pair of socks or a $100 pair of socks, or you've got to go and it's just part of it. The cost of running events is very expensive, that kind of stuff. I think that's the biggest, if I were looking, what we're trying to do in the AAU as a whole, we have several programs. Our membership is obviously not expensive. And to that end, people, I think there's a confusion sometimes. So when you sign up for AAU membership, the AAU Taekwondo program does not benefit from that membership fee, in the sense that we do not receive funding from that membership fee to provide programming, right? We benefit in the sense that the AAU provides a lot of benefits in the same forms of insurance and whatnot, and that's what it all pays for. So to be clear, I'm very proud to be part. We want that membership to stay low, because it is. But the way you keep it making it lower is by providing more events and being able to more attend things. I think the more we can do camps, the more we can do scrimmages and kind of things like that for development. I think that's going to be the way you keep involvement. There's a mistake to believe that exclusion is helpful. I'm all for people doing everything, right? I encourage not our referees, our coaches, our athletes. Please go over there. Go to this event. Go to that event. Go to every local event. Do everything you can. There's multiple reasons. One, they come back and they always know how much we're working hard to make sure that they have a good experience. But then also that creates a different avenue and a different way for them to stay involved, because it ultimately is just about continuing to do what you love and the passion. Most of us that are involved for 40 plus years, it's because it's our community, it's our family, it's our home. We don't know, I'm involved in lots of sports right now, but I still come back to my group of martial arts. That's my friends. That's my family. My wife's 4th degree black belt. My son's getting ready to test for his fourth this year. My daughter did it at one time. She was a level 8 gymnast. But it's what we know. It's what we do. My first instructor was my best man in my wedding. It's that kind of thing. That is the ultimate involvement, and it's unique to our sport. We are one of the few sports where, for the most part, 90% of the students have the same instructor that they had when they started. And if they don't, if their instructor retires or whatnot, they're involved. They're involved with their instructors, and I think that's just an important piece. The lineage, the history that goes into Taekwondo, and it's pivotal. And anybody who thinks differently doesn't know what they're talking about. And I think that, or just haven't experienced it, I guess, right? Again, I'll go back, and I don't want to repeat myself, but it's given me so much that how could I not be involved? How could I not encourage? How could I not give back to it in a way? And that's why we've gotten so involved with things like Grandmaster Society, and we have a whole group. We just spent I think it was about almost 2 weeks in Korea this summer, doing a lot, reaching out and creating new relationships. And we've got a whole group here in the. We formed a Korean liaison committee this year to reach out to specifically the Korean community, and how we can get more involved and learn and be part of of what they can bring to the table is too, because obviously AAU kind of moved this way, and I'm here to do that, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Well, that speaks to the next part, which is your resume reflects a dynamic mix of leadership in sport, business, education, and community service. How do you manage such a wide range of responsibilities? And in what ways do these different roles inform each other or help each other?
Well, how do I manage it? I don't know. You'd have to ask my wife. uh, I just have a hard time saying no because uh, for me, again, I'm driven by uh, leadership. I'm driven by seeing that change that we can bring. It's normally just it's funny. I said when we took over AU, we didn't flip the coin, we just tilted it, right? It wasn't about, we didn't need to turn it upside down. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. And I think that's what people get bogged down in. And leadership, whether whether I've sat on many local school councils, I've sat, obviously at the national level of AAU. 2 years ago, I was elected as the first vice president, I believe the youngest one ever. And I'm doing a lot of work. I'm working with, all kinds of sports, and I'm fascinating because when there's a problem, you see the same problem everywhere, right? It's not unique to taekwondo or basketball or volleyball. Typically, you see that same problem in sport everywhere. And good leaders come in and they, and I'm not saying I'm a good leader, I'm saying good leaders will come in and they look at it, they step back, they talk to people who hopefully have maybe either, two things. One, you got to go back to the people who started that or where they were at. Look at what they did, because there's no reason to make the same mistake if they've already made it, right? There's absolutely no reason for me to do that. But they can also, most leaders, previous leaders, are more than willing to share with you their insight and where they come from. So I think you have that piece, and then it's just a new, where's the world at? What's the pulse of the environment? And then tweaking it just to the right or just to the left, depending on what you need. When you turn it upside down and you go, well, I don't want to work with this, or I don't want to do that, and this is the one problem. It's not. It's normally just a finite thing. As far as how they all interconnect, I think it's the same thing. Again, taekwondo, in from the time you walk in the front door to the time you test for your black belt to the time hopefully you're becoming a instructor or a referee or a coach or Olympic athlete. It's always leadership. There is no doubt. It's about work ethic. It's about sacrifice. It's about indomitable spirit, and it's about respect. I think there's, not to go off on a tangent, but there's a movement in certain areas of our sport where, well, we shouldn't bow or we shouldn't do this. That comes off as this, and I just think that's just garbage, because we talk about respect being, the definition we give it, and my instructors have given it, is to treat others with importance. So when I bow or I walk in and I shake hands, or I'm going to go show respect to those people, it's because they treat with importance. I've never bowed to somebody who didn't bow back. I've never. It's ingrained in my soul to say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Maybe that's my Southern upbringing. Maybe it's not. But I can tell you there are fundamental pieces that are part of our sport that we cannot lose. We cannot go away from. They are as strong as a side kick or a roundhouse kick. I think they're that important in my estimation. And as long as I'm have any influence, I'm going to keep going there. And because it's not about submission, it's not about authority. It is about treating others with importance.
And I think that leads us into the next question, which is the future of Taekwondo. And I couldn't agree with you more. I've seen a diminishment in the traditional courtesies that are extended, and something as basic as wearing a uniform or a belt or speaking respectfully and how you portray yourself, certainly with the advent of social media. But that's a topic of another
Yeah.
podcast that we'll
Right.
invite you back for. But, what are some of the biggest challenges you see facing the sport of Taekwondo, both within the AAU, but on a broader scale in the world or national level?
Sure. I think one of the, you know, some of the bigger challenges, obviously, we could go on about what's going on with electronics or what's going on with, you know, the difficulty in, like Sport Pumse is growing huge and it's phenomenal. And if you've ever had the chance to go through a seminar with, some of the high levels, you will understand what kind of athletes these guys really are. I mean, just phenomenal athletes. And obviously, and that's true of all aspects of the sport. But I think there is this tendency to make things more difficult than they need to be. And the tendency always is to go, well, this isn't working, so let's make it harder or more complicated. When at the base, when we look at fundamentals, if we take it back to our base, our training, right? The fundamentals are most important, right? So, what are we missing when it comes to fundamentals, right? I think there's a lot of people involved that don't understand the sport, don't understand the art, um, and and I think that's just problematic. So it's a challenge for our sport, and how we select our leaders, how we and how we really look to what their in goal is for. Again, I still geek out about taekwondo. I might be weird when it comes to leadership because for me, if I'm at an event, I'm on the floor and I'm like just involved. I want to watch. I want to see what's going on. I want like, and I'm right behind our team. I want them to do well, and I just emotionally involved for that moment because it's just that cool to me. It's just so exciting. I don't feel any different now than I did when I was 10 years old and I showed up at the class and I saw the senior students out there doing these amazing things. I feel that same way. I get that same excitement every time that I get there and I get to see something spectacular. And that spectacular may be a 5-year-old that walked out there and got through a bow form, which is just phenomenal. Or it may be a, intermediate 10-year-old that just threw a kick that you couldn't possibly imagine. You see all that potential, all that environment. So I I think that one of the biggest challenges we see is getting people involved that have that excitement. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm saying that's what I feel about it. You got to wake up and love it. You got to wake up and go like, what, because it's hard. It's not easy. This is my fourth call of the day. This is, and all of them had to have done with taekwondo, and that's in between everything else. And 2 weeks ago I was up, working at a New York Athletic Club and a Sullivan Awards and working with best. So all of these things inspire me to do more and give more and be more involved. Uh, and I hope that that everybody has those same reasons when they're coming into that they're just passionate and they're excited about it and they understand. Go back to the fundamentals, go back to the basics. When there's a problem, how do we tear it down? Because if the foundation isn't strong, doesn't matter what the top does, right? It doesn't work. Go back to the foundation, what's going on at this level that's not right, and then we can fix everything in. We build that up, we can build it up, we build it up. I just think it takes what is that? Courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, indomitable spirit. That's what we should live by. And if you can't live by that or you don't believe in it, then there's probably another place for you.
This is true. I mean, those are great words and certainly words that we should live by. And I hope that everybody at some point hears that and does. Where do you see the sport headed in the next 5 to 10 years? And do you envision it gaining greater mainstream recognition? And if so, what do you think? What do you feel would need to happen to support that growth?
Well, I think it has a lot of potential to gain Main Street recognition. I think with and I don't want to get on tangent on social media because it's we're talking, but it's a blessing and a curse, right? If we get some people that have the integrity behind them and that can, it's like a try. Look what Caitlin Clark has done for basketball, women's basketball. this is a prime example for anybody who's out there saying, "Oh, well, taekwondo," no, no, no. Look what Caitlin Clark, that one athlete, has done for women's basketball. There's the taekwondo athlete that can do that for taekwondo. There's no question in my mind. I've seen so many phenomenal people, but I've had a great opportunity to meet her and be around her a little bit, be around her family, and she's just a phenomenal human being. She's a phenomenal athlete. I mean, God, you know, but she's also a phenomenal person, and she lives by a set of rules and a set of criteria and a set of standards. And that's and I so I what's the potential for taekwondo? It's limitless, right? If you get down to the base of people that are not involved in competition, which is what we're really talking about, the numbers are massive. They're just massive. But we need that kind of that kind of ability to get out there. And I guess the reason I was bringing up social media is because that's probably where it's going to come from in the next 5, 6 years if we have those people. But it is important more than ever that the people that are guiding those people have those same principles, that courtesy, that integrity, that perseverance, that self-control, that indomitable spirit. They understand where they're going because look, we all have past, we've all done things that were probably good and bad, and that's the world, that's the yin and the yang. But they need leaders that are going to show them that that's the pathway to go. You can be out there, you can be on every platform, you can be on TikTok, you can be on Instagram, you can do this, but you need to hold yourself in a way because that's what drives people to you. It isn't like, oh, I'm going to do this or, be crazy or show this or show up in, bizarre outfits or whatever it is. I think that's what so I think it just has phenomenal potential. The other part of that is, I think, we have to be better at when we look at the rules and what's coming out of our sport. That again, we look to. I think there's, there rules that come in our sport. Sometimes it's amazing to me that everybody in the sport, outside of the people making those rules, go, "What?" You know, what? It makes, and I don't think that's controversial to say. I think it's just a matter of fact that, let's keep, understand. And I think it goes back to what I was saying before. It's what's here at the foundation, what's at the base of the sport. But I think we have all the potential in the world. And I see some great kids out there, some really phenomenal kids, bright kids that, I have a lot of hope, and for the future of Taekwondo.
Well, we're putting together a forum where we're going to talk about that specific idea. And, I've
Yeah,
served on the committees that created a bunch of rules and watched those rules be altered and perverted to get to the version we have today. But that's the subject. And it's not controversial, nor is it political. So it's very difficult, if not impossible, to watch Olympic Taekwondo these days for the average spectator. And that's where revenue is driven, and that's where love for a sport is driven. And so we'll have that conversation. I'd like to take this moment to invite you back for that forum, which will include
yeah,
people of your level, and just to have a conversation about it. What is it, and what can we do to change it? But I have one last question because I've taken a lot of
sure.
your time, and it's kind of my bonus question, because understanding you as a family man, and you have mentioned that your most cherished accomplishment is your family. Could you share just a little bit about how their support contributed to your success, and how martial arts has probably positively influenced your family dynamic? Because I think that would serve as a great beacon for others that hear this and understand the value of what we do.
Sure. Well, obviously, there's nothing more cherished or more important to me than my family. And I am fortunate, very, very fortunate, that they get to do most of this with me. Very, you know, as I said, my wife is a fourth degree. My son is getting ready to test for his fourth. He's running our school primarily right now. He's 20, and he's doing a phenomenal job. He's a referee. He's been on our national forms team, our national points. But he's a great kid. My daughter is 16, getting ready to go into her last year of high school, and she was an athlete. And our school, our main business up before I was doing so much with AAU, we have a multi-sport complex which does gymnastics, dance, cheerleading, martial arts, and they've always been part of every fiber of whether it's business or whether it's sport. We've always been intertwined. So I've been very fortunate. God has been very kind to me and allowed me to be with them a lot. As far as uh, my wife is a unique person. People ask me all the time, you seem to have such a great marriage with. Well, I said it's because I'm not here very much, uh, and she lets me be me. So she's very supportive, and she never says no. But we talk about everything. We know what we're getting into. When I ran for first vice president of the AAU, we knew what we were getting into. When I ran for national chair, we knew what we were getting into. And when you walk into our national championships, she's one of those first people you see because she's there taking tickets and reminding people of all the good things that we can do. And my daughter's there helping with other stuff, and my son's there, like I said, refereeing on the floor when he's not competing. Um, I think family is the grounding thing, right? It's super nice to be able to go out there, and I've been very fortunate to, become the national chairman for taekwondo. I've been very fortunate to become first vice president. I'm very fortunate to have a successful business. Um, but at the end of the day, I come home and I'm still asked to take out the garbage and and clean up that dog poop on the floor or whatever. And so it's a realistic thing that uh, everybody sees me as this one thing, but at the end of the day, I'm home, and and that's my family. Those are the people that if I do something goofy or dumb, you can expect my daughter to call me on it, or or if you do something great, you can expect them to say, we're proud. And I think that's one of the things that drives me within AAU as well. I want everybody that's part of this organization to be proud to be part of it, right? I want my family to be proud to be part, of what I'm out here doing. I want them to look back and say that, you know, whatever sacrifices we made as a family was important, and it made a difference in their lives and then also lives of others. And I think that that's just really I didn't mean to get like I got a little upset there, but anyway, I didn't. That is very important to me, that the pride in what we do. I say, at this point in my life, at 47, I still there are things I won't do in this life because I don't want my parents to be not proud of me. I think, oh, they'll kill me, but that's not true anymore. You just don't want you want them to have pride in what you're doing and to go that's what he's out there doing the right thing. And that's what I want for the our AU members, our AU staff, our AU district. I want them to look out there and go, you know, I might not agree with this or that, but I'm so proud to be part of this organization because what we're trying to do is the right thing in the right way. And my family is so supportive, and I'm so proud of them and all that they do and all they accomplish. And thank them so much every day for letting me be me and just go do my thing and be okay sometimes to be in the shadow and sometimes to smack me back into my place.
Well, your passion for your sport and your family and your consistency, what people call these days authenticity, resonates certainly with me, and I'm sure will resonate with our listeners. And I'm convinced it resonates with your membership. I've seen you reach out and take hold of some of the greatest talent in the country and bring them into your fold. And having experienced your events in the past and most recently some of the newer events and some of the efforts you're doing, I can only applaud you because it's been a much needed leadership style for a national organization. You are by far one of the best leaders I've seen, and your organization has the numbers to prove it. So you are the largest grassroots development organization, and with your most recent success and your pathways program and what it's yielded towards the Olympic medal count potentially is just amazing. And I can only ask you that I hope you can maintain that. And we all get emotional when we talk about our families and the sacrifices they make. And we all have daughters that will keep us in our places. So we share that commonality. Grandmaster Stone, on behalf of Masters Alliance Uncut, myself, and certainly everyone that's listening, I just can't say enough kind words about you, and I continue to wish you the best in your journey. I hope that you maintain you have years of leadership ahead of you, and we need more leaders like you that are willing to step up and keep up. And those of us that have gone down similar paths, I know, admire you and applaud you. So please keep up and please stay strong for the cause, sir.
Well, thank you, and I have no plans to unless somebody else does. But um, I'm very appreciative of this and everything that everybody else is doing to keep things going. I'd be remiss to say that I had a very good fortune in a short window to work with a friend of both of ours, Jimmy Kim, and I was very inspired by him in the short times that we got to work together because he was so humble. He was so willing to donate and give of his time. And I know we both got the privilege to speak out at his memorial service. And I just wanted to mention him because I that inspires me. That and everybody that I've got to work with through this. I had Grandmaster Kim and myself were down in La Loma with Ireno Fargas and we got a chance to go out with him and his wife. And they were asking about everybody's place, and I said I was pitching myself. I said I'm not sure how I got at this table. It was never like the vision, but I feel very humbled, very honored, and I hope that I make like I said. I hope that we can carry whatever flame that he lit and make. I hope he's up there proud of what we're accomplishing. And I was so proud to work with him and be and have that time. And I learned a lot from just a short period of time of how you can carry yourself. And he had every accomplishment in the world. So I just wanted to make mention of him at the end here, just because was a mutual friend, and I felt very inspired by him.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about Master Kim and his impact on me as an individual and our time on the teams together, but our friendship over the years. And thank you for taking the time to mention him because he is, we could all be a little bit more like Jimmy was. Jimmy brought a humility to a man with amazing strength and talent and always approached his talent as just part of the world, and his willingness to share and serve was always just laudable and always should be. But that's not to say that you don't share those qualities just innately yourself, sir. So again, I want
Well,
to thank you for all those kind words about Jimmy, and I look forward to seeing the great things that you continue to do, sir.
well, thank you for having me, and I'm sure we'll see each other. And if there's other things I can do to help the movement, I'm always willing and able if I can.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Have a great.
Well, I told you that was going to be an amazing podcast with an amazing individual. It's rare that we meet people who have such passion for everything that they do, not just sport, not just their family, but life in general. Every time I talk to him, I come away with some new moments of learning, but more importantly, moments of inspiration. He causes me to want to be a better person, to be a better communicator, and a better leader. And we need more people like him to spearhead the movement so that Taekwondo can continue to grow and affect people's lives like it's affected his and the myriad of athletes underneath him in his organization. 3 Olympic athletes came through his program, and I can only imagine how many more will come through the AAU. And again, this was just an amazing podcast with Grandmaster Stone, who exemplifies what we need to be doing in our sport and in the movement. I am Herb Perez, and this has been a Masters Alliance podcast uncut.